Okay, so welcome to Euron everyone, and in this lecture I'm going to talk about a topic called as data type, scale of measurement, and I'm going to talk about basically a basic data collection strategy that we try to follow for any kind of a data oriented project. Again, there are like tons of different kind of a strategy, and it changes depends upon the business use cases or the problem that you are going to solve. But here, so I'm not going in depth as we have a complete syllabus for that, and obviously I can't claim that I can come and teach you everything in one single lecture. So that's the reason. So we have a multiple lecture. That's the reason. So we have a syllabus. So we will go through a syllabus. We will follow through a syllabus. And in this lecture, let's just talk about a data type, the base concept of a data type, the way we are going to divide a data type, and then a scale of measurement I'm going to talk about, and then a data collection strategy is something which I'm going to discuss. So I believe, guys, my screen is visible to all of you. Let's start talking about a data type now. So here, guys, whenever we talk about a statistics, right? So obviously we are talking about data into a statistics, and there are a different kind of a categorization of a data we can try to do as per the statistical measurement, because at the end of the day, we are going to find out maybe a mean, median, mode, standard deviation, variances, or maybe we are going to establish some sort of a hypothesis on top of that. So obviously, before getting into those part, right, which will come after this, so we have to understand that in what and all categories I will be able to divide a data. Okay, fine. So let's talk about that in a very first place. So guys, in a very high level, right? So when we are talking about a data type inside a statistics, so we can divide a data into majorly two categories, and then again we can try to subdivide a data. The very first category that you are going to find out is called as qualitative, Qualitative, qualitative. In other word, this is also called as categorical data, Catagorical, categorical data. So qualitative, so based on the quality of a data, based on the categories of the data, if we are going to divide a data, that will come under this particular category. Now, so what could be a best possible example for this one? Yeah, qualitative or categorical data. So guys, when we say a male, when we say a female, when we say apple, when we say banana, when we say car, when we say phone, right? Now, what we're talking about. So when we say a male, when we say apple, when we say banana, when we say car, all of these different kind of object, when we take a name of it. So obviously, we as a human being depends upon the learning, depends upon the experience. So we try to build some sort of a image of it, right? That, okay, so this could be a property of this particular object. Now, these kind of objects comes under a qualitative or categorical data. So when we say male, obviously male will be having a certain properties. When we say a female, female will be having certain properties. When we say car, car will be having certain properties like a four, like a wheels, and then like a body, interior, chassis, everything, right? When we say a phone, phone will be having a certain properties, by the way. So when we are talking about these names, so actually we are talking about a category of the data, categorical data. That's the reason. So it's called as categorical data as well, or we try to say a qualitative data. So based on the quality of that particular data, so we are trying to represent it, or when we are taking a name, so we are certainly talking about a quality of that particular data set. So let me write down some of the example over here, guys. So a male or maybe a female, I can talk about. Maybe a apple, I can talk about. Maybe a orange, I can talk about. Maybe a phone, I can talk about, like that. So I can talk about a tons of objects, and now even you will be able to talk about a tons of objects. Now these kind of a data always and always comes under a categorical data or a qualitative data. Now inside this categorical data or inside this qualitative data, again we can try to subdivide it. In what category we can try to subdivide it? So we can try to subdivide it into two separate categories. Again, from a qualitative itself, so we can try to subdivide it into two categories. So what are those? So one is a nominal data, and the second one is basically called as ordinal data. So ORDINAL, ordinal data. Okay, so we can try to further subdivide into two categories. Like I said, one is a nominal. Now, what is the meaning of this nominal, by the way? Nominal means a name. Ordinal means order. So again, so whatever, like people have given a name to all of these things. So they have given a name with some certain like logic, because these names are going to represent, and you don't have to even remember all of these things. You will be able to understand just by looking into a name from the next time. That nominal means name, ordinal means order of the data I'm talking about. So, okay, when we say nominal, so let's suppose I'm talking about maybe a BMW from a car category, or maybe I'm talking about just a orange. Maybe I'm talking about a iPhone over here. So iPhone over here. So basically, just by giving a name, I'm trying to represent a property of a data, or someone will be able to understand the property of a data. Even company wise, a product based companies, a startup, a MNCs, all of these things are what? A nominal, right? A name. So just by taking a name of MNC, I will be able to understand a certain property of a data. Just by taking a name of like a product based companies, I will be able to understand certain things. Just by taking a name of startup, so one of the most unstable one maybe, right? So I will be able to understand some of the property of this particular data. So that is called as basically a nominal data. Again, I'm not saying that you should remember all of these things, but yeah, it's good to know at least for once in a lifetime. That's it, right? Once in a lifetime, you are supposed to remember. This is like where your base will be built, by the way. So nominal means I'm just talking about a name. That's it. Now, what is the meaning of ordinal, by the way? Ordinal means if I will be able to order the particular data. See, I can't order a BMW, Toyota. Order means like in an ascending order into a descending order, maybe like in a comparison order. I will not be able to do that, right? I can't say that BMW is greater than or equal to like a Toyota. I can't do that comparison, right? It's a separate category that we're talking about. So in case of nominal, you will not be able to arrange a data into certain order. But when we talk about ordinal data from this qualitative data, so I will be able to arrange, I will be able to make a order out of it. Now, what is the example of that? So we all try to give a rating, right? So maybe like we try to give 1 star, 2 star, 3 star, 5 star. So it's an order. 1 star is what? It's a basically qualitative data. It's a quality. It's a category. 1 star means what, guys? 1 star means it's a category that I'm talking about. So let's suppose if I'm going to give a lecture, obviously you are going to give me a rating, and on every platform you will be having a rating option. So basically you try to go and give a 2 rating, 5 rating. What is this? So these are nothing but a category that you are trying to select, and a kind of a categories that you will be able to order in a certain way. So here, if I'm going to say, I'm just going to give you one example. So here, when I'm saying that poor, right? Poor, I'm going to say a fair, I'm going to say a good, I'm going to say excellent. Excellent, right? So here, I'm trying to order a data. I'm talking about a data which I can order. That is a possibility, right? I will be able to order. Now that comes under ordinal data category, and a data where you will be able to take just a name, and just by taking a name, you will be able to understand a property of the data. That comes under a nominal data. So I believe this part is clear, that inside a qualitative or inside a categorical data, we have again 2 subcategories. One is a nominal and one is a ordinal. Now, all these things are pretty much important. So when we try to talk about a data collection, right? When we try to talk about a data segregation, when we talk about a data science inside this particular data, when we try to build something, when we try to understand a business utilities out of it. So all of these things comes into a picture at that point of a time. So, okay, the very first top category is a qualitative. Now, parallel to this, so there is another category, and that category is called as quantitative. Quantitative. So what is this? So this is nothing but a quantitative. Quantitative, right? Or you can say it's called as a numerical data. Numerical data, by the way. So quantitative, a quantity which I can measure, right? A quantity on which I will be able to perform maybe a mean, median, mode kind of operation, standard deviation and variances kind of operation. Now, those who are not aware about mean, median, mode, standard deviation and variance, it's completely fine. In an upcoming chapter, we are going to talk about that as well. So a data which I can measure, a data which I can count, and that kind of a data is actually called as a quantitative data, or you can say in other words, a numerical data. For example, so if I'm going to ask you a question that what is your height? So you are going to say that my height is maybe 172 centimeter, right? This is an answer that you are going to give. So basically I can try to measure, right? I can try to measure on a scale that what is like a length of this, what is called as 172. So I will be able to measure out of this one. Now, when I'm going to ask you a question that how many chapters from Euron you have completed this week, you will say that I have completed 7 chapters. 7 chapters. So again, there is a measurement I'm talking about, right? There is a measurement I'm talking about over here, a count I'm talking about over here, and that kind of a data falls under quantitative or a numerical categories. Now, inside that, right, inside that, so you will be again able to divide a complete data set into a multiple categories. So one category, so inside this quantitative, one category in which you will be able to divide a data is called as interval, right? So one category in which you will be able to divide this data is called as interval. The another category in which you can try to divide a data is called as ratio. So interval, interval. And then second is basically a ratio in which you will be able to divide a data. There is another categories that you can try to subdivide a data called as continuous data or maybe a discrete data. So there are multiple divisions that you all will be able to make out of this one. So when we say interval of the data, what is a meaning of an interval? Yeah. So when we say interval of the data, so if I'm going to ask you a question that what was a temperature today? Yeah. What was a temperature today? So you will not say that temperature was a 32 degrees centigrade or maybe a 34 degrees centigrade. You will say that okay, so temperature was somewhere between a 25 degrees centigrade to maybe a 34 degrees centigrade, something like that you are going to say. So you are trying to talk about basically a interval over here. Yeah, you are going to say, you are going to talk about interval over here. If I'm going to ask you what will be a salary of a machine learning engineer in your organization? So you will not say like a particular number over here. So you will say that okay, so maybe for a machine learning engineer, a salary for a junior engineer, maybe salary will be in between 6 LPA, right? I'm not talking about the inflated one, by the way, to maybe a 10 LPA. So this could be a salary for a person who is going to join as a fresher inside my organization for a machine learning engineer position. So here again, I'm talking about what? I'm talking about basically a interval. Yeah. So again, I'm talking about an interval over here. Now, the another categories that you will be able to find out over here is called as basically a ratio. Yeah. So it's basically called as a ratio. Now, what is a meaning of a ratio? Let's try to understand that. Okay. So what is this like a ratio, by the way? So we are able to understand the interval, right? Now, the things with the interval is that interval can't be 0. So interval can't be 0 at any point of a time. You can't say that this interval can be 0, by the way, right? You can't say that this interval is going to be 0 at any point of a time. But when we talk about a ratio, so it could go to a 0, by the way. So basically, when we talk about a percentage of a measurement, when we talk about a proportion, when we talk about all these ratios, it can go to a 0, but interval can't go to a 0. For example, so I can ask you a question that what is your weight? And you are going to say that my weight is maybe 100 pound, right? My weight is 100 pound. Now you can even say that my weight is basically like this pound. That's completely fine. Or maybe the weight of this particular stuff is 1 pound, 2 pound, or maybe a 0 pound. You can even say that my income is 0, right? You can even say that I have a 0 percentile score inside this in this particular exam. You can say that my bank balance is 0. So that kind of a data comes under a ratio. Interval can't be 0, right? You can't say that I'm leaving into a 0 to 0 interval. That's practically impossible. But when we talk about a ratio, so yes, it can go to a 0, and most of the time you will be able to doing all those mathematical operation like a subtraction, multiplication and division operation with respect to a ratio kind of a data. For example, a height, weight, age, a distance, income, speed, whatever, you can just name it. But yeah, so most of the time, so we'll be dealing with what kind of a data? A ratio kind of a data. I believe you all are able to understand a difference between interval and a ratio. Interval means a non-zero. Ratio can be 0, a 0 percentile, a 0 height, a 0 weight, a 0 time, a 0 distance, yeah, a 0 distance, and then that plus something you can do, that minus something you can do, that divided by something you can do, that multiply by something you can do. So this is the meaning of a ratio, and I believe every day, so we talk about each and everything in terms of a ratio itself. Now, so inside this, right, inside this quantitative data, so you will be able to find out again two different kind of a categories. Now, what kind of a categories you will be able to find out? There is something called as continuous and there is something called as a discrete. Now, where this discrete and where this continuous fall into a picture? Inside quantitative, we are talking about basically interval and we are talking about a ratio. Now, where this continuous data and where this discrete data comes into a picture. So whenever we are talking about an interval, right, wherever we are talking about an interval, so always we talk about a continuous values. Now, what is this continuous values, by the way, right? What is this continuous values, by the way? So maybe whenever we are trying to give some sort of a range that your temperature is going to be between this to this, your LPA is going to be 6 lakh to 10 lakh, maybe 6.5 lakh to 9.5 lakh, something like that. Whenever we try to give, so we are talking about basically a continuous data over here, right? Any value in a particular range is basically called as a continuous data. Now, what is a meaning of? So I can say that temperature can be a 25.2 to 34.2, right? I can say that. I can make a statement over here. Now, this is a continuous data I'm talking about. Yeah, it's a continuous data I'm talking about. So even after floating point number, you will be able to find out some values, and that's completely fine. I can say that my package is basically 6.5 LPA to 10 LPA, and that's possibly like a possible over here in case of a interval. So interval always try to consider a continuous values. Now, there is something called as discrete value. Now, what is the meaning of discrete value? So now if I'm going to ask you a question that how many car you have? Now, you can't say that I have 2.5 car. If I'm going to ask you how many iPhone you are holding, you can't say that I'm holding 5.5 iPhone. If I'm going to ask you a question that what is your, what is the number of children you have? So you can't say that I have a 2.7 children. Basically, you are going to give me an answer in 1, 2, 3, 4, something like that. Now, wherever you are trying to give those kind of an answer, it always falls under a discrete. So ratio, so when we talk about ratio, so ratio could be a discrete and ratio could be a continuous, both. So ratio could be discrete, and ratio could be continuous, both. But at any point of a time, so when we talk about interval, it will be continuous all the time, right? It will be continuous all the time. So I can try to take from any point to any point, and that is going to be a continuous data. When we say that, no, I'm talking about a specific number, a whole number, an integer I'm talking about over there. So in that case, we are actually talking about a discrete data. So now guys, this is how we can try to divide a data, qualitative data, quantitative data. Now inside this qualitative data, so we are dividing this data into a nominal by name, ordinal by orders. Basically inside this quantitative data, so we are dividing a data into an interval and ratio. Now interval can be continuous. Interval will always be continuous from any range to any range, right? But ratio can be discrete as well as ratio could be a continuous. So this is something that you all are supposed to know. Now, so when we talk about a continuous data, I believe we all know what we are talking about. When we talk about a discrete, I believe we all know what we are talking about. So these are not the major point, but yeah, this is going to help you out going forward to understand our lectures in a best possible manner. Now, let's talk about a data collection strategy, right? Data collection strategy. Data collection. So whenever we are going to work, right? So whenever we are going to work with a real-time use cases, so there are multiple ways that we try to follow through, by which we try to collect a different kind of a data. Again, in case of statistics or in case of a data science. So the very first approach in general that we try to follow is maybe we are going to do a surveys, or maybe we are going to like put up some sort of a questions, and then we are going to ask for the answer. You must have seen that people try to put up a lot of questions over a social media while they are doing a survey. They try to put up a question in a like a groups, or even they try to do a home visit. Companies try to connect with their customers, they try to ask some sort of a questions, and based on those surveys they try to build a data. So survey is one of the way by which you will be able to build a data, you will be able to collect a data. Now there are multiple approach, multiple ways, depends upon the business and its need. We try to do a lot of surveys with respect to our customers. So even we try to run a lot of surveys with respect to our students, just to measure the quality of the lecture, the expectation that they have. If we are trying to build some new product for our Euron ecosystem, so we try to do a survey that, okay, so how much useful this particular product is going to be. Unless and until we are not able to get the result of the survey, we will never start building a product. Because again, let's suppose if I have built a product and if people are not liking it, if it is not useful for the people, again, things will go for the toss. Investment, time investment, money investment, everything will go for the toss. So every company try to do a lot of survey, almost every organization try to do a lot of survey, and almost every country try to do a lot of survey in a different segment. Depends upon the problem, or depends upon the business that they are trying to do, or problem that they are trying to solve. The another way is basically like observation, right? So observation. So even we try to like collect a data by observing some of the behavior, some of the nature. For example, so often we try to watch a cricket match, and then we try to watch a football match, or a lot of different kind of a sports we try to watch. We try to observe it. We are not playing it. We are not part of it, right? So we try to observe it. We try to collect all of those data points, that how many six, how many fours, how many white balls, how many no balls, and many more things, right? Many more things, many more data. Which player is playing good, bad, or maybe which player is playing good against this particular person, against that particular person. So each and everything we try to observe, or coaches, right? Coaches try to observe, and based on those observation, based on the reading that coach has taken during that observation, so they try to prepare their team, they try to give a feedback, they try to build the analogy, they try to build some sort of a statistical analysis on top of it. So this is again another way by which you will be able to like collect a data. Now third way I can say is that experimentation. Experiments. So you must have often heard about a lot of like a like let's suppose a car manufacturer, right? So let's suppose they have built one particular component, one particular part. So obviously they don't know that how it is going to perform, and how long it is going to perform, and what it is going to do. So they try to do a lot of experimentation over there. They try to like do a lot of testing again and again and again. For example, even we as a company, right? Maybe we as a digital company, so we try to run a lot of ads, let's suppose, right? So we try to do a lot of A/B testing over there. That okay, so which poster people are liking, which videos people are liking, which videos people are not liking. If let's suppose there are 5 thumbnails, on which thumbnails people are clicking the more, we are getting more like a CTR, click through rate basically. So all of these things are basically called as a experimentation. So where we are not aware about a final result, we are just doing experimentation. We will run the experimentation into a different situation and scenario, and out of that we will try to observe the data, and we will try to build some sort of a statistical analysis. Now, so the fourth part is maybe a sensor data. So again, weather, right? whether lot of like machineries, lot of almost all the modern vehicle, so where you will be able to find out a sensor in each and every component. This sensor will keep on taking a readings, and based on those readings in an app, it is going to show you that which part is going to be down, which part is performing well, which part is looking for a servicing, which part is looking for a replacement. So again, sensor based data collection we all try to do. So whether it's a agriculture, whether it's a healthcare nowadays, whether it's a automobile, whether it's a space technology, everywhere. So we are trying to use a sensor heavily so that we will be able to do the analysis of the data. Now, so the fifth part is basically a logs, right? Logs. So for example, you are using Euron system, and let's suppose one of the application inside a Euron system is going down. Maybe it's not working. Now, so what we will do in that situation? So obviously we will try to look into the logs. Let's suppose our app is going to crash, or maybe one of the feature that we have built over a website is going to crash. So what will be the data points? So how I will be able to make a conclusion? So obviously I'll look into the logs. I'll try to track it. Or maybe if someone has logged in, and if we would like to understand that what was the pattern of the user. So obviously my logs are going to help me out. And like us, almost every, not almost, I would say 100% of the company. So they try to collect almost every kind of a log for whatever click that you are going to do, or whatever business you are going to do, whatever activities you are going to do, each and everything they are observing. They are even trying to get some sort of a data from your mobile devices, from your desktop, or whatever system that you are using. And based on that, they are trying to make some sort of a analysis. They are trying to make some sort of a recommendation. And even on Euron, if you'll go, you will be able to find out a recommendation system. Now, how we are able to build it. So obviously we are trying to log each and every activity from your side. We understand that, okay, so which course you are going through. And if you are going through this particular course, so what is the next that you are going to need? So based on all of these, so we are going to give you a recommendation. Likewise, everyone is doing the exact same thing. So logs is another way by which we use to collect our data. So these are just a couple of things, guys, couple of ways, basically couple of tactics which we try to use to collect our data initially. But yeah, there are tons of other ways that you will be able to find out, and by which we used to collect our data, because statistics is all about learning a data, finding out some sort of pattern or useful information inside the data. So obviously to do that, we have to collect the data, right? We need a data. So we try to apply a different kind of a strategy just for doing a data collection. So hope this lecture makes, this lecture gives you a little bit of clarity over to this small topic that we are talking about, which is a very first module of your statistical lecture. And hope all of you are going to follow along, and all of you are going to learn a lot going forward with that. Thank you so much, everyone. Take care, and see you again in my next lecture with lot of information.